Well, hello, it's Joanna Clark with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I thought I'd take my Facebook and Instagram live outside. It is totally gorgeous here in California today. My trees are already changing colors, which is really fun. And today I'm going to be talking about the fall time change, which is this year in 2021. It is November 7th, 2021 at 2 a.m. We are going to be falling back, so putting our clocks 1 hour backwards. And today I want to give you some recommendations on how to manage the time change, both for your children and for the adults in the household, to make this a smooth transition for everyone. Okay, so the pro of the fall time change is that we will get more sleep. The con of the time change is that it gets darker earlier. Personally, I'm a sunshine kind of girl, so I love evenings full of sunshine. So this time change for me personally is really hard. Now, what will happen is from this day, November 7th, all the way until the winter solstice, which is December 21st, the days will get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay? So what we're going to do is a couple of things. For some people, this fall time change is actually easier on them than the springtime change. For me, it's harder. Don't know why, but it just is. You will enjoy a bonus hour of overall sleep, and you will get a bonus hour of light in the morning. So it will make waking up in the morning easier for you. So in the evening, it's going to be darker earlier, and so that might mean that if you have younger children, that they'll actually get drowsy earlier, which of course, as parents, we all love to have evenings to ourselves and for each other, with our partners. And so it is wonderful when the kids start to calm down and go to bed earlier during this time. Okay. But I do want to let you know that sometimes this fall time change can actually trigger early rising behavior, which is waking up between 4 and 6 a.m. So this is something we're going to be really careful about. I'm going to explain how to handle early rising behavior. All right. Now, this seasonal time change is all about plugging in and using the biological seasonal rhythms to help us regulate. It can actually take some children up to 2 full weeks to adapt to this time change. So the recommendations I'm going to make, there's going to be 2 kind of strategies. The one strategy is the gradual change, and the other strategy is the just in time. But either one, you have to be really patient because it could take your child up to 2 weeks to regulate. Okay, so the proactive approach is the approach that I recommend, where you are making gradual changes up until November 7th. So what you would do in this case is that you would, between now and November 7th, every 2 to 3 days, you would move up your nap times, your meal times, and your bedtime. Move it up by 10 or 15 minutes. So normally, if their nap time is at 12, you'd move it to 12:15. If their bedtime is normally 6, you move it to 6:15. You would do that for 2 or 3 days. Things were going well and you didn't see any protest, any middle of the night arousals, or any new early rising behavior, then you would bump it again by 10 or 15 minutes and hold that steady for 2 to 3 days. If that was still calm and everything was going well with your bedtime routine, you would bump it yet again. And what you would try to do is by November 7th, try to be already at that full hour ahead, so that then when you fall back, your child is now on schedule. Okay. Now, remember that when you're making this gradual approach, the meal times are shifting, as well as the nap times and the bedtimes. That also sometimes means their digestion changes during this time, when they're hungry changes during this time. So again, patience is super important. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you're doing this gradual approach and all of a sudden you're finding that your child is waking up somewhere between 4 and 6 a.m. and is having a hard time going back to sleep, or doesn't go back to sleep at all, that means you've got to stop where you are and go backwards by 15 minutes. and get back. So you might not be able to actually make it all the way to the full-time change if early rising becomes a problem. All right. Now, the just-in-time strategy is something like this. Literally on November 7th, you would wake up that day and you would immediately go to the new timetable, and you would do breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the new time zones, beds at the new time zones, and you just kind of basically jump in to life at that new time zone. And for some families that don't have a lot of time for planning, this works great. For children that don't typically have big challenges around time changes, this works great. But for the children that are already prone to early rising, or the children that tend to be sensitive to any transition, or definitely sensitive to time transitions, you want to take the gradual approach. Okay? Now, let me talk about the early rising behavior. So what is sometimes really challenging around early rising is that your child will wake up somewhere between 4 and 6 a.m. and they'll be awake and they won't go back to sleep at all, which is misery. We can all agree on that. Or they'll be awake, they're awake for 30, 40, 45 minutes, and then they fall back asleep. Either way, if you experience early rising, the most important thing you need to realize is that once early rising starts, it can create a life of its own, and it can become very, very stubborn to go away. So I'm going to give you some recommendations on how to handle it when it occurs so that it doesn't become an ingrained waking that then, of course, will take a long time to go away. So when early rising happens, it's super important that you keep the child in their bed, the big boy bed or big girl bed or crib, until 6 a.m. And you want to try not to feed them or expose them to light before 6 a.m. And I know this just sounds awful, especially if they're up at 5 and you're like in the nursery with them until 5. And all you're thinking is, I just want to get up and get myself a cup of coffee and put them, hand them to the other parent. But you can't, because the minute you expose them to food, the minute you expose them to light, the minute you stimulate them with another caregiver, you are beginning to, by accident, embed their early rising behavior. So if at 6 a.m. they are still awake, you need to leave the room for like 5 seconds, come back into the room, turn on the light, open the shades, say good morning, and then get them out of their bed or their crib and start your day. You have to, when there's early rising, you have to establish a new morning sequence of events so they understand what it means when it's about to start their day, which is why this recommendation of what I call dramatic wake up is you enter the room, turn on the light, open the shades, greet them with a good morning, and then get them out of the crib. When you do that day after day after day, you're establishing a new pattern for how they can expect from you what it means to begin their day. Okay? Now, if early rising is happening and you find yourself in a situation where you go into the room and the child does not go back to sleep, then there are, and this, okay, obviously during that 2 weeks when the child is adjusting to the time change, you're, again, patience, right? You just have to attend to them consistently so that you don't embed the behavior. But if after the 2 weeks, you're finding that, oh my gosh, my child wakes every single day, they are awake, they don't go back to sleep, they're exhausted, I'm exhausted, then it frankly is a good time to do a sleep tune-up call with me. Because that means to me, there's a lot more going on here than just the time change. And that me as being, I call myself a sleep sleuth or a sleep detective. I want to get in there and I want to figure out all the different things that could be triggering that new challenging behavior. And I want to devise a strategy specific to your situation to help you guys get back on track. And so in the notes here, I will put the link on how to schedule a sleep tune-up call with me if you find yourself in a quandary after this time change. And of course, if before the time change, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many weird things going on with my child in sleep, I really need to talk to a human being about it. That's what I love. Okay. I love talking to families. I love solving problems. I love helping you become a well-rested family. I am on a well-rested family revolution. That is my thing. That is what I want. And so you can always schedule a sleep tune-up call with me. And again, I will put that information in the links so that you always know you have a place to come. As you guys know, if you're following me, that I am a gentle sleep coach. I do not believe in cry it out. I really believe that sleep is a learned skill, and that if we create the right environment and the right circumstances, we can gently and without guilt help our children learn the sleep skills, the skills of sleep, and that we can feel really good about the process. That is, and I've been doing it for 10 years and I've helped thousands of families. So I'm definitely confident I can help your family too. So again, circling back to this. So the just-in-time technique, sometimes we need to add some other things to help the child understand the difference between day and night. If a child is over 2.5 years of age, sometimes implementing a tot clock can be really helpful. A tot clock represents, night might be the light is red, and daytime might be the light is either yellow or green, so that they can represent by color whether it's time to stay in the room or time to get up and start your day. I personally love the hatch clock, and I will put in the link to, in the description, a link to the hatch so that you can take a look at that. It's an app generated tool. It's wonderful. It has a little sound machine with it. It's very affordable. It's just a wonderful product. So I definitely recommend you doing that. And then the other thing you can do is, whether you do the gradual approach, but definitely if you do the just-in-time approach, is really focusing on exposing your child to natural light in the morning for the first 7 to 10 days. So literally making a purpose that when they get up, sometime after 6 a.m., that it will typically be starting to get light outside. So really make an effort to get outside and get at least 20 minutes of beautiful morning sun, and this will really help set the circadian rhythm for your child to get on the new time zone. Okay, and yeah, I just wanted to give you guys this I'm just checking my notes, to give you this information, make you feel organized, make you feel empowered, let you know that you have a place to come to ask questions if you get yourself in a bind, and that I will put in the notes some of these recommendations that I am offering, and some of the reference the different products that I like that can help you get through this transition. And I hope that you guys have a fabulous Halloween. I can't believe it's this weekend. And if those of you are some of my clients and you're listening, I would love you to send me pictures of your beautiful children that can enjoy Halloween, because they are already well rested. And take care, and thank you so much for being here.